My entitled neighbors have parties on the weeknights until 3 o'clock in the morning, and after dealing with this all summer, as well as making several complaints to my HOA, I now feel like our life is falling apart because right now I really don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I live in a master planned HOA community, and we have a noise ordinance set in place stating that outside noise is supposed to stop at 10 o'clock p.m., and everyone else on my street respects this for the most part. The people behind me sometimes go a little late, but they are about 27 years old with 2 toddlers who are otherwise extremely respectful, so maybe going like 30 to 45 minutes over doesn't really bother me or anybody else. But the family in question though has massive parties. We're talking just their guest cars take up both sides of the entire street, plus both sides of the side street between my half of the street and theirs. Anytime you go outside, there's no less than 5 to 10 people on the front patio, and sometimes like another 10 to 15 people in the backyard, and at least another 10 inside of the house. And you can hear them inside because they leave the front door open. Every weekend during the summer, there's always about 40-something people at their house. The older teens will hang out around the cars, and they are loud, they're rude, and they're disrespectful. Plus, they throw their trash everywhere. One example of them being disrespectful and rude was when I was walking home with my mini pig. And yes, just for clarity, I am talking about the farm animal. She was leashed and following behind me, eating her snacks that I dropped for her, and I dropped some popcorn behind me to encourage her to follow along. Now, I understand different cultures have different beliefs around animals and all this other stuff, but these teenagers threw bottles at her when they saw her, screaming out that she startled them. Also, I should add that the HOA knows about my pig. She's registered with my city, and my property is in ordinance with the city guidelines for having a pet pig. Well, when they did that, I scolded them firmly, but never raising my voice at them, stating that what they just did was a very cruel thing to do. Well, one of the adults heard me and came running over, further startling my already scared pig, and proceeds to berate me for screaming at frightened children. During the summer, we only have to deal with their crazy parties during the weekend. However, the second football season starts. Every night that there's a football game on, there is a party. It's driving me absolutely insane. I work from home, so for me personally, they aren't messing up any kind of sleep schedule or anything like that. But my 12-year-old obviously has a sleep schedule. He has to get up at 6:30 in the morning for school. When the neighbors are partying until 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 houses down, and it sounds like they're in my backyard, it severely affects him. I've sent in video proof of the noise with timestamps to the HOA, and I know several of my neighbors have as well. I've even contacted the security people that we have, and I've personally sent no less than 30 complaints, and nothing has changed. Last Sunday, things escalated even further, and I was once again walking my pig. Now, we do live in a desert, so it's way too hot to walk her during the day because she will literally split a hoof and then not be able to walk for days because of the pain. Well, the adults started yelling and hollering, making all kinds of unnerving animalistic types of squeals, which really freaked my pig out. So I had to risk her feet just to walk around the long way to our house so that we could avoid their house. I get that we both own our homes, and sometimes this is part of home ownership, but this feels so excessive and completely unnecessary. And right now, I don't know what to do anymore. I also didn't take her for a walk last night because of Monday Night Football. She was so sad she didn't get to go for her walk, and she just sat at the gate and was whining. I take her for a walk every single night, and we don't cause any problems. She is no different than anyone else walking their dog on a leash. And now I feel like the house full of bullies is dictating what I do with my life and my pets because of their rude behavior. The HOA has been wonderful for all other complaints, approvals, or anything else that we have needed from them. So I don't understand why this issue is being completely disregarded. What should I do? First and foremost, I want to say that I've been in this situation before, and trust me, it really sucks. Having neighbors that are rude and obnoxious and incredibly loud at all hours of the night, it is never a fun experience, and it really does suck entirely. So to that end, I completely sympathize, and I know exactly where you're coming from. But in my opinion, I think you've done all the reasonable things that you can do. You've talked to your HOA, you've complained, you've shown proof that they're being way too loud. You've done everything you can except for one very specific thing that I would definitely do if I was in your shoes. Because if I lived 3 doors down from these people and I heard them making this much noise, I would 100% call the police and complain. There is no reason that you should have to put up with this. Their antics and their behavior is completely out of control. Because you know what? What you said goes both ways. Yes, they own a house, but so do you. And you signed up for this HOA just like they did. And they are supposed to keep the noise down after 10 o'clock. That is the rules of the neighborhood, and they need to do that. So truly, if I was in your shoes, I would absolutely call the police. Because this is not something that anyone should ever have to deal with.
If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories.
An entitled jerk runs into me on a walking path, all because he was running on the wrong side. He even went as far as claiming that I was the one at fault and that I needed to stop acting like this path was reserved just for me. Here's what happened. Okay, so where I'm from, it is customary to walk, run, or cycle on the right-hand side, just like the same way traffic flows on the road. So I was having my usual lunch break walk, as I do nearly every day, and I had a guy literally run into me. My route takes me past our local sports stadium, and like most stadiums, the forecourts are long and wide, leaving plenty of space for everyone to move around. The side furthest from the stadium is separated from the tram line by a long, straight hedgerow. So I was walking the length of the stadium with this hedgerow on my right-hand side, close enough that every now and then, the longer protruding branches lightly brushed my right hand. And I was doing this while looking up at the stadium and reminiscing about the nice times I have shared there with my wife. About 2/3 of the way along, there's a crossing point over the tram lines, and I can only assume that this is where he came from, as for the duration of my walk along the side of the stadium, there had been not one single person in sight. I figured this was because there must be a service vehicle coming from behind me, and I stopped to look over my shoulder, but there was nothing. There was nobody there. Only the wide open boulevard and not a soul in sight. I turned back to face the direction I was walking and put my arms slightly out to my sides, as if to say, what is going on, with a facial expression to match it. This guy literally ran into me and said, "You think this path is reserved just for you?" And he shouted this as making shoulder-to-shoulder contact, causing me to stumble. I stood there for a second trying to comprehend what had just happened, and I shouted back at him by saying, "You literally saw me walking there the whole time. There was no need for that." And he did not even look back, but just continued his jog. A few hundred meters further, and there is a bridge that goes over the motorway where the path becomes smaller, perhaps 4 to 5 meters wide, with barriers on both sides. Now, I'm still sticking to the right, and a different jogger passes on my left, but decided to not move back to the right and just stay in the middle of the path. At this point, a cyclist is approaching, keeping to the right side, and starts to swerve, literally because the jogger has positioned himself in a way that the cyclist cannot pass without hitting him. And this jogger still doesn't move 1 centimeter from his line, forcing the cyclist to stop just to avoid contact. We catch each other's eyes and just shake our heads at each other in disdain, because we seriously could not believe that people could be this selfish. Yeah, that's insane to me, because seriously, all you have to do is sit on the right-hand side if you're on the path. And the fact that that guy ran into you and was like, "Oh yeah, you think this path belongs to you?" It's like, dude, no, of course it doesn't belong to me, but you're clearly on the wrong side. So yeah, if I was in that situation, I would be just as baffled, because that is seriously not that hard to follow. An entitled Karen gets up in my face after my medicine gets filled before hers at a pharmacy, forcing me to talk back to her in a way that I honestly never expected. Here's what happened. Okay, I want to preface this by saying that I'm not one for confrontation, but when I am pushed to that point, I will speak up, but it takes me a lot to get to that point. I went to the pharmacy in the morning just after opening, and this is something I tried to avoid due to it being the witching hour for entitled old people, but I had things to do later on, and I put it off to the point that I was out of my meds. There was one person in the waiting area, which was this old lady tapping her cane impatiently against a shopping cart. I got invited up to the window by the tech, told them my name and what I was there for, and she goes off to the med storage area to find it. Well, this entitled Karen didn't like that, I guess, because she came rushing up to the window with her cart and cane to yell. First she yelled at me, and then she yelled at the tech. She wanted to know why I was getting my meds before her, even though she was here before me. And every time she referred to me, she would hit me in the leg and the knee with her cane, and she was not doing this gently. Now, I didn't really have anywhere to escape, because this pharmacy's pickup window was really small. So I had a wall to my right, her to my left, the counter with a window in front of me, and this Karen literally parked her cart right against me. I couldn't even properly turn around to move the cart. The tech tried explaining that they were filling her script while mine has already been filled. I mean, mine had been shipped in, so they didn't even have to do anything other than put the order in and hand it to me. This Karen still wasn't happy with that answer and said that no one else should be getting their meds until she gets hers. Once again, moving to hit me in the leg. Now, at this point, I am pissed off. My leg was throbbing, the tech gave her a reasonable answer, and I just wanted to pay and get my meds. After she smacked me the 5th time with her cane, I told her in the best mom voice I have that if you hit me with that cane one more time, I will take it from your hands and put it so far up where the sun doesn't shine that you'll be tasting the rubber foot on it. She then muttered something about respect and all this other garbage, but I just told her that she needed to shut up, sit down, and wait for her meds. They are working on it. I also threw in that the world didn't stop for her problems, nor did it revolve around her. Well, as a result, she did sit down, and I'm not sure if it's because of what I said or because the tech offered to call the police for assault. I did consider it, but turned her down in the end because I didn't want to stick around any longer than I needed to. As I was packing my meds up into my bag, the pharmacist came out and told her they weren't going to fill her script now and that she needed to leave. So in the end, she didn't get her medication violations and was kicked out of the store. She gave me an awful glare as I was backing out of my parking spot, and to be completely honest, I thought she was going to rush out into the lot and claim that I hit her or something like that, because based on the way she acted in the pharmacy, I definitely would not put it past her. Okay, this is a fantastic story for so many reasons. For starters, I think the original poster absolutely met fire with fire. This Karen was literally smacking her in the leg and treating her so poorly for literally no reason. Like, she was up in this window screaming at everybody, all while literally assaulting the original poster. And so at that point, after getting boxed into a corner and then pushed around and hit repeatedly, like right then, that's when the gloves would be off. And the original poster handled this correctly. Like, I would not put up with that for a second because nobody should have to deal with that. But more importantly, in my opinion, is the way that the pharmacy themselves handled this. They didn't just fill the script and be like, okay, we'll get your medicine for you. They said, no, you're not getting your script filled and you need to leave. And that, in my opinion, is the only correct response in this scenario. You don't bend to this stupid Karen's whims and be like, oh yeah, we'll get your script, don't worry about it. Because that just shows that you have no spine and you will absolutely give in when someone pushes you hard enough. And it displays this awful pattern that yes, you're gonna let them get away with that. So the way the original poster and the pharmacy handled this was perfect in my opinion. Because when someone's talking to you like that and treating you like garbage, you have every right to defend yourself and not put up with that for a single minute. Would I be the jerk if I invite everyone from my husband's friend group to our wedding reception, except for one girl who we've always had problems with? Here's what happened. Okay, so I've been married to my husband for a year now, but we're finally having the reception in December of this year. My husband has a friend group since high school, and they all went to school together. Besides us, it consists of 5 couples and 3 single people, and the one girl that I'm gonna mention is the only single girl in the group. Let's call her Tiffany for the sake of the story. Tiffany dated one of the guys for 5 years before breaking up with him after she decided to cheat on him. He quickly moved on and started dating a younger coworker. They have been dating for 2 years now, and she was very bitter over the breakup and caused a stir in the friend group even though it was all her fault. So I'm considering not inviting her due to an incident that happened last year during Christmas. That year we all got gifts for each other. We hosted the Christmas event at our house and everyone came on time except for her. Not only was she late, she also didn't greet my husband and I, but she greeted everybody else. She also got everybody's gifts except for my husband and myself, citing that she only got gifts for the real couples. Now I brushed it off the first time, but she said it again twice. She then left early and everyone, including us, were confused as to why she acted like that. Most of the friend group sided with us, but a girl and a guy were defending her, claiming her social awkwardness and inability to read social cues were the reason why she acted the way that she did. But I felt like her words and her actions were so deliberate because there's no way that she would forget to give us a gift or to even greet us. She definitely knew better. It felt rude and on purpose. Even though half the group dislikes her, the other half is still fond of her and close to her. They hang out with her regularly, and we still hang out with them too, but without the girl in attendance. Tiffany also reacted poorly to the news of my pregnancy. She asked me if it was an accident, if we truly loved each other, and all this other stuff. And it was the strangest reaction I've ever had to my pregnancy. Now, for a bit of context, I dated my husband for 2 years before our engagement and our marriage. We have a baby, and we also have known each other for nearly 10 years, and we were close friends for most of that time before we started dating. I was not part of this friend group until we started dating, even though I also went to school with them. My husband also isn't close with her and has never really been that close. In fact, they've never really gotten along. She's really sweet to the other women in the group, but just not to me. We're the only married couple with a baby in the group, and everyone else is dating seriously, with no engagements on the horizon. Now, the reason I'm making this post is because I'm reading that it's rude to exclude one person out of a whole friend group to a wedding, and I'm just wondering if I'm in the wrong for this. My husband is supportive, and we both don't want to invite her, but honestly, this whole situation really sucks, and we don't know what to do. Okay, for starters, no, you would not be the jerk for excluding this lady from your wedding. She sounds like a piece of work, and she doesn't sound like a friend in the slightest. Like she's exclusively rude to you and your husband, and has pretty obviously made that known to pretty much everybody in the group. And any people trying to be like, oh yeah, her social awkwardness is the reason she can't do things right. She can't read social cues, she can't help it. Like, I would understand that if this was a child of some kind, but Tiffany in this story is 27 years old. That is more than enough time to understand social cues and at least have some semblance of what's going on. Like, I'm I'm sorry, that is not a good enough excuse, if even an excuse in the first place. Because that's just a really convenient reason for someone to get away with being a jerk, which is exactly what Tiffany is. So in my opinion, I don't blame you for cutting her out of your wedding entirely, because her attitude about you and your husband have been completely toxic, and in my opinion, you should not have to deal with that in the slightest. Am I the jerk for not allowing my friend to bring her emotional support animal to my house after it destroyed my furniture the last time they were here? Here's what happened. I'm a 19-year-old female, and I have a close friend who we will call Amy, who has a small dog that she refers to as her emotional support animal. Now, I'm a huge animal lover, and I have no problem with pets in general, so when she asked if she could bring her dog over a few months ago for a small gathering, I was totally fine with it. However, during that visit, her dog completely destroyed one of my couch cushions by chewing it up, and also scratched the legs of my coffee table. Amy apologized, but she kind of brushed it off and said to me, "He's still learning to behave in new environments." Now, I didn't push back too much because I knew the dog is important to her, but I also was pretty upset because it cost me quite a bit to replace the damaged items. Fast forward to now, and Amy asked if she could bring her dog to my place again for another get-together. But this time, I politely told her that I wasn't comfortable with the dog coming this time because of what happened last time, and I don't want any more of my furniture being ruined. Well, when I said that, Amy got really upset and said that I was being insensitive to her mental health needs. She insisted that she needs the dog with her at all times and that I'm making her feel excluded by not allowing the dog. I suggested that she leave the dog at home for just a couple of hours or that we meet somewhere else, but she said I'm being unreasonable. And now some of our mutual friends are saying that I should let the dog come just to keep the peace, but I don't think it's fair that I should risk some more damage to my home. So am I the jerk for putting my foot down in the way that I did? What should I do? No, you're definitely not the jerk. If someone's gonna be over at your house with their dog, then they need to be able to keep that dog under control, whether it's an emotional support dog or not. Like seriously, the fact that Amy completely dismissed the fact that her dog destroyed your property and like completely ripped up your couch and your table, like that is so toxic and just so annoying. Like why should you have to put up with that a second time when you could easily meet up somewhere else that wouldn't involve your property getting destroyed by her dog? It also blows my mind that Amy's trying to frame this as some kind of like mental health offense of some kind, as if you putting a boundary down for her out of control dog is somehow a shot at her mental health needs. Like you did offer alternatives of you guys meeting up and having a get together. In fact, why not just have it at Amy's house? Like the way Amy's acting, in my opinion, is so annoying and just super manipulative. So no, I don't think you're the jerk at all, because clearly she has very little concern for you or your property. Am I the jerk for moving in with my grandparents and telling my mom that I'm done supporting her after she practically neglected me pretty much my entire childhood? Here's what happened. I'm a 16-year-old female, and my mom had me when I was 18 years old. My dad was just some guy that she hooked up with at college, and for years it was just the two of us. She didn't want to go back to her hometown so my grandparents could help us. She didn't even tell them about me for several years, and then used a 6-year-old me to break the news to them. Then, not only did she use me to break the news, but she had me ask them if we could stay there for a while, and she even coached me to do the puppy dog eyes and make it all good. And I did all of that because she asked me to and because I was 6. In fact, she had me lie about pretty much everything. When she wanted me to lie about my father, or when she wanted me to lie about where we'd lived before, I would do pretty much anything she would ask me to do. I followed her along eagerly for the most part when she was bouncing between guys and putting those relationships before me. I even shared a room with a random baby and a toddler when I was 8 years old because my mom's then boyfriend had only one extra room where his kids slept. I tried to speak up about wanting mom to focus more on me, and she figured out what I was going to say and gave me this guilt trip about needing to be put first, all because she had me so young and how she needed me to get on board. So I never tried again. Well, 4 years ago, she met her husband and dated him online when COVID kept everybody at home. They moved in together 3 years ago and got married 2 weeks after we moved in together. It was him, his 3 kids and mom, and then me. His kids spent some time with their mom, but they were with us a lot too. And I hated this honestly, but for my mom, I said nothing. She put more effort into his kids than she ever did to me, and it really stung a lot. They were younger, but so what? I was still her kid too. She treated me more like an older sister by burdening me with her issues and asking me for help with them. So I started spending more time with my grandparents and started to thrive. And then her husband's ex passed away, and my mom and her husband wanted to take in her other kids, which were different kids than the stepkids my mom already had, with my mom eventually telling me that they were adopting them all. Now at that point, I just sort of gave up, and I asked my grandparents if I could just live with them. There were some custody things still being worked out, so I was only living with those kids a couple of days. Well, my mom was shocked when I told her I wanted to stay with her parents, but she ended up letting me, thinking that this would be a temporary move. But she realized after more than a month month that I'm serious. She has tried to get me to come and spend time with them and bond with the kids, and just to help out around the house, but I told her no. She said they'll be my official siblings in a year, and we need to give them a good life, but I still told her no again. They'll be her kids, and I won't be because she never treated me like hers. I told her that I don't want to give those kids a good life or to be their sister. I don't want to help her or her husband, and I don't want to put her first anymore. I told her that I'm done supporting her. My mom then started crying, and her husband cussed me out and accused me of cruelty and abandoning the family. So am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? No, I don't think you're the jerk at all, because I think the way your mom is acting is completely selfish. She not only neglects you for a majority of your life, but then tries to turn around and be like, oh, come on, we gotta do this for the family. And it's like, what are you talking about? What family? You've done nothing to make me feel like I have a family, and if anything, you've turned your back on me entirely. Like, that's completely awful and so unfair for you. So no, I don't blame you for moving in with your grandparents, because the way your mom's been treating you is completely unfair. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.